Hi, and good morning or good day, depending on where you are, to all of you. Welcome to this webinar. We are really happy to see that there are so many of you who are joining us for this webinar on partnerships in quality. We're looking at how quality infrastructure is assisting our micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. My name is Latoya Burnham, and I am a quality promotion consultant with the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. I would just like to take a moment before we get underway to actually commiserate with our colleagues in Jamaica who would have been hit by Hurricane Melissa over the last 24 hours. And one of our panelists is actually from Jamaica. So we really want to send our hearts out to you as you navigate what's been happening over the last couple of hours and you're looking to recovery. So for our colleagues in the Caribbean who are also in the path of what is happening, we also commiserate and send our heartfelt condolences in some cases, and also to let you know that you are in our thoughts and in our prayers. Today's webinar is intended to be CROSQ's contribution to World Standards Month. World Standards Day would have passed about a week ago. And in order to recognize, given that there were so many activities that would have been happening then, we pushed our webinar to late in the end of the month to be able to get as many of you on board as we could. But this is also the Marketing, Information, Knowledge Management, and Education Committee's contribution to Standards Month. We are hoping over the next hour or two to bring a lot of information to you, to bring different perspectives to you, to also answer some of your questions that you might have about how the quality infrastructure framework is working to get you to where you want to be in terms of your trade and your export and improving your goods and services. So to our directors who are in the house, welcome to our CEO, Dr. Sharon May Smith-Walker, to our speakers, Mrs. Brianna Wilson from the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, Mr. Lloyd Oriano from the Belize Bureau of Standards, Miss Ellen Glitteren, and I know I will butcher that name, so Ellen, please forgive me, from Suriname, one of our MSMEs from Suriname. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Omar Castillo from Beltrade in Belize, and Dr. Cheryl Anderson from QSSI Global. Those are our speakers for today. Our facilitators are Miss Aisha Hussein from the Guyana National Bureau of Standards and Miss Heather Wilson from the CROSQ Secretariat. My committee members, QI professionals who are in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you. We will begin today's proceedings with a brief welcome from our Marketing, Information, Knowledge Management, and Education Committee Chairperson, Ms. Aisha Hussein. Aisha, take it away.
Thank you very much, Ms. Burnham, and a very good morning to everyone. Please allow me to stand on the protocols you have established, Ms. Burnham. But before I proceed, it would be remiss of me not to also send strength and prayers to our Jamaican colleagues who are facing one of the most severe hurricanes in Caribbean history. We stand with you in solidarity and in spirit. And I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you, our regional colleagues, our partners, and most importantly, to the micro, the small, the mid, and the medium-sized enterprises joining us from across the Caribbean. Today's conversation is a very important one, and it sits right at the heart of what we in the CROSQ Mike Committee stand for: strengthening partnerships for quality and ensuring that the voices of our Caribbean businesses are heard, that they are understood, and they are supported through standards and certification. As we all know, MSMEs are the pulse of our regional economy. They drive innovation, they create jobs, and the story of our people's creativity and resilience. We also recognize the real challenges these businesses face, from limited resources to navigating complex market requirements. That's why this webinar matters. It is an important opportunity to connect, to listen, and to identify the spaces where regional collaboration and standardization can make a tangible difference. Through CROSQ, we continue to build an ecosystem that empowers our MSMEs to grow beyond the borders, one that uses the tools of quality, certification, and information sharing to open new doors, whether it's helping businesses access international markets, improve their competitiveness, or simply build confidence in their products and services. Our collective work is about nurturing trust in Caribbean quality. I want to thank all of our speakers and our contributors who've taken the time to share their expertise and experiences today, from national bureaus to certification bodies, and of course, our MSMEs themselves. Your insights are what will make this dialogue meaningful. And as we go through this morning's program, I want to encourage everyone to engage actively. Use the Q&A segment, share your realities, your ideas, your hopes. This is your space. The feedback shared here today will guide how we, as a regional network, continue to shape programs that truly respond to the needs of our businesses. On behalf of the MIC Committee and CROSQ, thank you for being here and for being part of this shared vision, one where quality becomes our way of doing business and our Caribbean voice continues to grow stronger together. With those few words, let's move forward and with partnerships, with purpose, and with pride in Caribbean quality. I thank you.
Thank you as well, Aisha. Um, the Marketing, Information, Knowledge Management, and Education Committee is a committee of the 15 member states of CARICOM. It's comprised of the marketing, the liaison, the consumer affairs, the public relations officers, and the IT specialists within our national bureaus of standards, and in some cases, our quality institutions. And what that committee attempts to do is to spread the word and the information about what quality infrastructure is, what it does, how it helps, and meet your needs where they are, and communicate what you need back to the QA institutions that are giving you the assistance. And again, as Aisha would have said, I really thank the MIC committee for having put together this webinar, and you'll see a lot more as we move forward in terms of outreach to our industry in particular, to make sure that your needs are being met by our QA institutions. At this time, I would like to ask our CEO of the CROSQ Secretariat, Dr. May Smith Walker, to bring greetings on behalf of CROSQ.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And let me also say thank you to Ms. Hussain, Chair of the CROSQ MIC Committee. as you have all started on that note of solidarity with my Jamaican brothers and sisters, it has been a hard few days. We have waited from last week watching, and now we have experienced the devastation of a Category 5 hurricane. And so I ask that you pause with me as we offer a word of prayer on behalf of those who have lost, those who are suffering, and we pray for those who are in the path of Melissa, those other member states who will experience Melissa, albeit with lesser force winds and gusts and devastation. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for taking Jamaica through despite the hardships that we are facing now. And we ask you, Lord, to be with all our family members, friends, colleagues, all our stakeholders in Jamaica land we love. We pray for those team members who are online and who are watching this program and who will watch it later on when they have time. We pray and ask, Lord, that you will be with our brothers and sisters in Cuba and in the Bahamas and the other territories that will be affected. We ask that you will continue to provide sustenance for those who are without and provide help where help is required in the name of Jesus. Amen. It is with we give thanks. We give thanks because we know that it could have been way worse than it was with Melissa. And it is for that reason that it is important that as a CARICOM family, we work together in partnerships. Yes, and this is why we're here, and this is why this webinar is so timely. To our directors of our national standards bodies and leaders of our quality infrastructure institutions online, to, I recognize the chair already, but to the other members of the CROSQ My Committee, to the members of the private and public sectors who are online, or QI professionals, staff of our regional NSBs, to the hardworking team at the CROSQ Secretariat. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Today's webinar, entitled Partnerships for Quality, Strengthening MSMEs Through Standards and Certification, is timely. We are focusing on one aspect of conformity assessment certification because we would not have time this morning to cover all three. And we know how important certification is. Product certification is crucial. Certification of our management systems is crucial. This initiative of the Marketing Information Knowledge Management and Education Committee is on time, even though we know we are well past World Standards Day, but we celebrate the entire month of October, yes? And we are on the edge of the other important month where we celebrate World Quality Day. Recognizing the importance of industry and our micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises in the development of our region's trade, we highlight how the enduring role of the regional quality infrastructure plays in supporting our businesses through standards, through conformity assessment, and especially the area of conformity assessment that we're flagging today, certification. The MIC has brought this panel together with experts in their own rights. And we recognize each expert who will be presenting later on in our program today. CROSQ and other national quality infrastructure institutions must ascertain the needs of our stakeholders. We must know what is required from our MSME sectors, and that is how we will seek to anticipate your needs and meet those needs when they occur. CROSQ does this by creating the stimulus for greater access to international markets and to solidify your domestic market share. Because we know that even as we seek to expand into international markets, we're competing with international producers and exporters right here in our domestic market. So as you join us today, I welcome you and I urge you to take away some nugget, some bit of advice from what the panelists will be sharing. And I want you to be intentional in seeking assistance for your businesses. We want you to reach out to us at CROSQ. We want you to reach out to your national standards bodies in your member states, to the quality infrastructure institutions in your member states, because this is how you are going to be proactive in accessing all the critical information that's available to support your businesses. So many times I hear people say, but I didn't know this. And yes, we have a responsibility to tell you, and this is why the mic is so important. That's the promotional arm of CROSQ. And we are here to sensitize you. We are here to tell you about the benefits. But please reach out to us if you have a question, if you have an issue. From our panel, you will hear about the standards body's perspective, the quality infrastructure professionals' perspective. You will hear from one of our trade and export bodies in the region, and especially you will hear from an MSME who has been through the process of certification, and you will see how it has improved their business. Thank you, my committee, for conceptualizing this activity and working feverishly to bring it to being. Thank you, presenters, for volunteering. And Cheryl, I raise my hat to you. I'm not in Jamaica right now. I have been stressed all through, not sleeping over the night. So I can imagine what you have had to experience living through, Melissa. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here today. May the discussions that we have today be fruitful and rewarding for all of you. God bless you all. Over to you, Latoya.
Thank you so much, CEO. With those opening remarks, we will get underway. We do have a hefty panel today, and they've already said to me, Latoya, you've asked us to fit our presentations into 10 minutes, and yes, I did. So we will get underway with Mrs. Brianna Wilson, who is a technical officer and ISO-trained lead auditor at the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, where she provides training and technical assistance on management systems and standards. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Health and is currently pursuing a Master's of Science in Agri-Food Safety and Quality Assurance. Brianna has a key role to play in strengthening Guyana's quality frameworks, including advancing the GYS 901 standard, which is the requirements for quality management systems for MSMEs. Most notably, she has supported over 80 institutions in achieving certification to internationally recognized standards such as ISO 9001 Quality Management, ISO 22000 Food Safety Management Systems, and ISO 45001 Occupational Health and Safety, all towards advancing competitiveness, safety, and sustainable national development. Brianna today will be presenting on the role of standards and certification in MSMEs. Take it away.
All protocols observed. Good morning, colleagues, listeners, and MSMEs that we have with us today. As mentioned, my name is Brianna Wilson, and I am honored to represent Guyana and share insights on the role of standards and certification in empowering our MSMEs across the region. Now, this topic ties directly to today's theme, which speaks to partnerships for goals, because quality and collaboration are at the heart of sustainable development. Firstly, why do standards matter to MSMEs? Now, standards help our MSMEs move from informal to competitive. They build trust. Customers and the regulators know that the product is safe and consistent. Standards help to open market opportunities, for example, access to supermarkets and even exports. And internally, standards make the operations more efficient and reduce waste. They also improve risk management, for example, implementing food safety requirements or even legal compliance. And ultimately, it makes the MSME more resilient and ready for growth. Now, let's talk a little bit about the CARICOM context and the role of CROSQ in providing support to our MSME and certification. Now, across CARICOM, our MSMEs form the backbone of the economy, especially in agro-processing and manufacturing. With CROSQ, we have a critical role being played by harmonizing the standards across the region. And this helps to promote regional quality infrastructure and also working through national standards bodies like the Guyana National Bureau of Standards. This collaboration that we have across the region reduces technical barriers to trade, helping the small producers access new markets, while at the same time meeting the same benchmarks that are existing regionally. Now, what do we mean by standards? Standards can refer to product standards, for example, labeling and safety. We also have process standards in the case of testing and calibration, and we even have management system standards, such as ISO 9001 or even ISO 22000. Some standards are mandatory, while other standards are voluntary. But overall, they help to create consistency and a shared language with regards to quality. Now, even before certification, the MSME should align their operations with standards to improve credibility and their performance. Now, let's talk about a certification pathway for the MSME, one that is right-sized for an MSME and also practical. Now, certification doesn't have to be overwhelming. I know that's usually the narrative. When you think certification, you think additional work, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. There are different levels to certification. You can start with first party, which is considered self-declaration. You can even have second party, which is the buyer audits or your interested party audits. And then you can have your third party accreditation as your mark of conformity. MSMEs can take on a phased approach based on your scope. You can start small, build your capacity, and then scale towards your certification gradually. Now, the key in this is aligning your processes with the standards first, so that certification now becomes a natural next step rather than a hurdle. As the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, we provide support programs for our MSMEs, and I'd like to share a little bit about that with you. At GMBS, we are committed to helping our MSMEs bridge the gap between intention and implementation. We offer training services on standards and management systems. We offer advisory services, and there's also technical assistance that can take you from the point of where you are to the point of being certification ready. And this would include gap assessments based on the standard and also pre-assessment audits. Now, through our Made in Guyana certification program, or our Made in Guyana mark, and our testing and metrology services, our MSMEs can validate their quality claims. So it's not just declaring that you have quality, but you have that verification and proof that you are subscribing to quality requirements. Most recently, I'm proud to announce that we have launched the GUIS 901 2024 Standard Management System, and it is a national standard specifically designed with MSMEs in mind. This provides a simplified framework for quality management. It is a practical standard. It is definitely affordable with consideration of the MSME, and it aligns with international best practices. Now, GYS 901 2024 is considered as a game changer for our MSMEs in Guyana. Being part of the technical committee that would have put the standard together, I'm very proud to say that it was developed with the MSMEs in mind. Now, this standard is a simplified structure based on ISO 9001, so we have core quality management concepts and principles, in addition to elements for safety. It focuses on continual improvement, ensuring flexibility with documentation, and ensuring customer satisfaction, which is what we want as an MSME. It is cost-effective and very practical for small operations, especially in the case where we have a one-man operation, and it boosts the credibility and readiness for international certification. Now, GYS 901 helps the MSME bridge the gap between ambition and recognition, because now you can implement a standard into your everyday operation that can give you recognition for implementing quality at a national level. Now let's talk about a practical 0 to 12-month roadmap. You might be wondering, okay, where do I start and how do I phase my implementation? Here is a practical roadmap. Start with one key standard, whether it's food safety, whether it's a product standard, or even a management system. Start with one key standard. Then you conduct a gap analysis and tidy your documentation. A gap analysis is simply looking to see what the standard requires and what you have in place and see what gaps exist. Once you identify those gaps, you tend to have an idea as to where you can go next to close those critical gaps. You might need training, you might need to improve a process, you might need some calibration assistance. Whatever gaps exist, you work towards closing those gaps. Then you implement those requirements you established and you run internal audits, you do verification checks, and by month 12, you can plan for certification. One thing that is important to note is that the overall goal is not perfection. It is consistent improvement and you building a culture of quality to the scale of your operation. Now, focusing on our Sustainable Development Goal 17, which speaks to partnerships, we want to ensure that we achieve these goals through partnerships, specifically based on Goal 17. And this one emphasizes the need for support from national bodies to the MSMEs. You have national support, you have support regionally from CROSQ, and you even have assistance through industry associations, universities, and even funding. Bundling training, testing, and funding reduces barriers that some of the MSMEs might face, especially with financial barriers. When you cluster MSMEs together and you allow them to engage in knowledge sharing, you can assist each other without bearing the full cost of the financial implications that might be associated with certifications. Now, in closing, I want to encourage our MSMEs to start small, but start now. Choose one standard, or even one process, or even one product line, and take the first step. GMBS, and by extension, CROSQ and our other national standard bodies are ready to support you with training, advisory services, gap assessments, and even recognition schemes that you might have nationally. Together, through collaboration and partnerships, we can strengthen our MSMEs and enhance trade and even contribute to a more sustainable Caribbean. I thank you for your attention, and I'm open to any questions that you might have during our Q&A session. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, Brianna. It was concise, it was to the point, but it was packed with information. You will see in our chat that you are encouraged to share your comments. You can also, as presenters are going through, you can add your questions into the chat just so that you don't forget. We'll get to them at the end. Our Q&A session will be at the end of all presentations just to make sure we get through our full panel today. So thank you very much for that, Brianna. Now on to our second presenter, Mr. Lloyd Oriano Jr. is a standards officer with the Belize Bureau of Standards. He has 15 plus years experience in quality infrastructure, namely standards, conformity assessment, and accreditation systems. He's well-versed in various systems ranging from quality management to environmental management, energy management and performance, and a host of others. He's also extremely knowledgeable in thematic areas such as risk management, root cause analysis, food fraud, business continuity, internal auditing, among others. So those of you who are in Belize, you can check out the Belize Bureau of Standards and ask for Lloyd to assist you with these areas. He has a bachelor's in mathematics and a certificate in project management. Today, Lloyd will be presenting on the national quality infrastructure and how it supports MSME development. Mr. Oriano, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Latoya, for speaking those exciting stuff about me. With protocol having been established, I'd want to proceed directly into the meat of the matter, because then, of course, I know that we have some stringent timelines, and because I know that the area of quality infrastructure, for those who are really abreast of it, would know that 10 minutes is not going to do justice to actually explain exactly the NQI. However, I have that envious task today. So I want to speak in terms of the development of the national quality policy for Belize and what an NQI means for micro enterprises. First, I want to put that into perspective, though it's very, very important that we put what a quality infrastructure means from a macro perspective, and then to what it means from a regional and a national perspective. So I hope to be as clear as possible in the next few slides. So looking at the macro perspective in terms of micro enterprises, looking at trade-related constraints, basically we're looking at things such as the capacity to produce, to meet market requirements, whether we're at the national, regional, or international level. The ability to comply with standards and regulation, and the capacity to integrate into the multilateral trading system. So for me, these are key trade-related constraints which micro enterprises meet, notwithstanding though that these are just, for me, the key ones. There are many, many more challenges that micro enterprises face. Education awareness is one of them. Ability to provide or to seek their services in determining market requirements is one of them. While large enterprises may have the necessary resources to do the necessary market assessments, for micro, this might not be the case. The micro enterprises tend to duplicate efforts in relation to the availability of products and services, which does provide for a congestion of these services. And the micro enterprises at times tend to not have that collaborative willingness to actually come together to solve particular issues, especially in relation to quality. And so this is just at the ground level for micro enterprises. But from the bigger picture, this is what necessarily these constraints are. And so how do we solve these things for micro enterprises as quality infrastructure institutions at the national level, at the regional level, even at the international level? So in terms of infrastructure and conformity assessment, this is what it means in an ideal world. I know the focus is on MSMEs and microenterprises and in relation to certification, but this cannot exist without the other autonomous services in relation to standards, in relation to technical regulations, conformity assessment, which encompasses certifications, which also encompasses metrology services, testing. Key to understand here, though, is that while we may have these services, we need to ensure that these services are accredited services. We're speaking of accredited certification. We are speaking of accredited metrology services. We are speaking about accredited testing services. And all because, of course, we want to ensure that the micro enterprises have these services at the accessible. The word is accessibility, because not in many cases these can be available at the national level, but they can be available at the regional or international level. So it all depends on the demand, and it all depends on the capacity at the national level to be able to do that. So in terms of the in an ideal world, this for a developed country, the services are available autonomously. You will find that for a developing country, the key QI institutions, especially an NSB, the they have the responsibility for almost all of these areas. So it's very important to note that, right? So for Belize, we have a lot of responsibility in enhancing the country's national quality infrastructure system in relation to standardization methodology, for example, right? And I'm going to speak on that a little bit further. So why do we want to do that? I mentioned that you may have certification services, but it doesn't go a long way if it is not an accredited services, right? We industry, micro enterprises, they need reliable test results, reliable certification services, reliable inspection services. These then must be accredited services, must be traceable to international at the international level. So it's very important to note that at times we may have national certification schemes, but the difficulty comes in when you cannot establish an MRA, a mutual recognition agreement for the service at the international level. It may be, right? I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it may be. So it's very important that whatever service we have, that this is traceable at the international level and that these are accredited services, okay? So the NQI is a demand-driven system. We look at the public side of things in relation to the protection of consumers, in relation to protection of health and environmental protection, and so forth. These are most of the services that the state or the government provides the necessary funding, the necessary resources to ensure that these are not compromised. So as much as possible. But we look on the side of quality, we look on the side of productivity, innovation, and competitiveness. That is where, of course, I think that a lot of us, we want to focus a lot on that, because we often hear that micro enterprises would have difficulties in this area, and many express that they would only want to comply with these things if it is absolutely mandatory or necessary or compulsory. But we want to change that narrative in terms of the culture for standards and quality, and so that micro enterprises can appreciate or can provide the necessary demands in relation to these particular services in relation to standards and certification and so forth, right? So I think that for the regional, at the regional level, the CEO spoke to it in terms of the importance the MIC committee in relation to information awareness and education, because this is one thing that we hear a lot, that micro enterprises would tell you that they did not know of it, haven't heard of it before, and this is the first time they're hearing of it. So this is one key pillar in terms of the quality infrastructure system. For Belize, I said that an ideal world, in a typical quality infrastructure system, the autonomous relationship between these key pillars in terms of the quality infrastructure system. For Belize, the Belize Bureau of Standards, we have the mandate in relation to standardization, metrology. Of course, we have, coming from the regional quality policy, which was approved in 2017, we initiated at the national level the intervention in relation to the establishment of a national quality policy. This is an intervention with the BSI partnership. And so we managed to actually get cabinet approval for a national quality policy. We're looking at a national quality policy implementation strategy, looking at the established a national quality council. We're on updating national standardization strategy. In relation to the NMI, we definitely have the industrial metrology laboratory, and recently gained accreditation to the Fine Mass Laboratory. In the other areas, we work closely with the other conformity assessment bodies and key QI quality infrastructure institutions to try our best to actually coordinate other activities in relation to conformity assessment and accreditation. So this is very important for the Bureau of Standards. So the Belize National Quality Policy. It's very important to understand that while we talk about pillars, when you build your house, it's very important that you have a very strong foundation. It's very important that you have your necessary uh, um, framework to actually ensure that you have a very strong framework, system to actually support the needs of the country. There is no other way that you can do that if we do not have the necessary uh, stakeholder engagement with our key partners across all levels. That must be had prior to any policy decision making across the policy decision makers, technocrats, key stakeholders. There must be a rigorous stakeholder engagement plan to ensure that the quality policy resonates among all, and to ensure that we all understand that this is a benefit, this is something that the country needs to go into in looking at the quality infrastructure system. So it's a network. While we talk about infrastructure, you might think about a building. This is actually a network. It's an institution. It's institutionalized. So we must ensure that the system is one that will support the needs of micro enterprises, for example. Some key considerations, one of which I mentioned, is the cabinet endorsement of Belize's national quality policy. This was done in June 2022. The cabinet endorsement of a national quality council, which was done in November 2024. The development of the national quality policy implementation strategy. This is currently ongoing. This is partnership with the BSI, and accreditation to the Fine Mass Laboratory, which is in June 2025. So for us, we believe these are key milestones, key considerations in terms of how we move forward or gain that momentum in when we talk about the country's quality infrastructure system, right? In the era of the MSMEs, of course, we currently have the revision of the National Standardization Strategy, which is ongoing, the updating of the metrology demand survey ongoing, while we look at the macro perspective, we want to also look at the on the ground perspective. So we are also looking at an NQI implementation matrix in terms of identifying those gaps of what is necessary from a quality infrastructure perspective and services in relation to MSMEs, specifically the coconut sector in Belize, right? So not only looking at the broad macro perspective, but also looking at how that impacts on the ground level, and then to see how best we can address those gaps. This, again, we're working along with the BSI. BSI, of course, is the British Standards Institute and Standards Partnership Program. So we're working with them on that. The vision and objectives of the NQP, well, it's a strong quality culture embraced by all levels of society that supports an effective NQI, which will enhance the sustainable economic growth, development, trade competitiveness, consumer and environmental protection, food security, and other sustainable development priorities, improving the quality of life for the citizens of Belize. So that's in essence, our vision in relation to our national quality policy. We hope that it provides the necessary framework, umbrella framework for all relevant sectors and their attendant policies that will trigger that institutional change to incorporate the necessary quality infrastructure services that is required, and by extension, be able to improve then those services and then improve subsequently the level of services provided to micro enterprises. So in essence is to look at building the capacity, improving the coordination among the key quality infrastructure institutions, and actually stimulating that national demand for these services as well. So we need to ensure that we have that necessary framework. Again, I think that what was mentioned again in terms of the importance of that, of course, the protection of human health, the protection of consumers, environmental sustainability, and facilitating the increase in the productivity of competitiveness of Belize through assurance of goods and services, and then to meet that defined trade requirements in terms of whether we are doing at the national level, regional or international markets. So it's very, very important that we have that necessary framework to be able to do that. In conclusion, then, I would want to say that the NQ national quality policy definitely will provide that necessary framework for aligning, especially those key quality infrastructure institutions that provide some form of services required for the development of MSMEs, micro enterprises, and to be able to see how best we develop that competitive edge in terms of improvement of these services and products. And by extension, of course, will improve the socioeconomic transformation of Belize, and then we hope to be better competitive at in the global stage. So this is my conclusion in terms of the importance of NQI and MSMEs. Definitely, you can reach out to me. Anyone can reach out to me at any point in time for any further information for as it relates to Belize and how we have or where we are in terms of the development of Belize's NQP and how far we're going in terms of that. But thank you for being part of this webinar and to try and share the information, share the knowledge, and every collective effort is important in this initiative from a national and regional perspective. So thank you again for that.
And thank you as well, Lloyd, for consenting to share Belize's experience in developing NQP and what that has meant for the inclusion of businesses in Belize. Our next presenter is coming from Suriname. Maybe we're looking at the development of this webinar. We knew we had to hear from our MSMEs as well. So Mrs. Ellen Lichteren, and I know, again, I'm not good with the Dutch, but she is the CEO and master chocolate maker behind Tanbun Scrati, a pioneering tree-to-bark enterprise based in Suriname. Under her guidance, the company has become a beacon for fine Surinamese cacao, crafting premium chocolate products that bring out the best in cacao from Suriname. Her work extends far beyond the art of chocolate. She's at the forefront of innovation in the value chain and developing new byproducts and cosmetic applications derived from cacao, so-called waste streams, in an effort to transform the leftovers into luxury and sustainable and tangible products. Over the past 6 months, she has led her team through the rigorous process of preparing for ISO 9001 certification, weaving structure and quality systems into an artisan environment. Today, she'll share on the company's journey, highlighting insights, challenges, and triumphs of building a quality culture bean by bean. Her presentation is on the lessons of certification, how they did it, and how it's going. Alan, now is your time.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I will go. Thank you all protocols observed. I'm really happy that I can have the opportunity to present the presentation of our journey to be certificates. So I will go to the beginning. So first of all, 6 months ago, I had actually, and we had actually a limited knowledge about ISO and ISO 9001 and 2015. We had really limited. We knew that it was actually a kind of mark to enter a larger market, that it was necessary that you had to be certified. Sorry for my English, I'm Dutch speaking, so sometimes it's not pronounced well. That it was really difficult, and especially that it was actually that you could be broke if your company could be broke to comply with the 9001/2015. So it was a way that we were thinking about, but something was really not for us to reach. Then we are already 15 years in operation. We did not have any written protocols. We just grew from out of the kitchen to cottage industry to the micro processing size we already now have. So when UNIDO and CROSQ were able to enter this program for certifying, we were really happy. We had completed a year ago a CARICOM assessment. CARICOM came in our workspace to do an assessment about workflow. We learned about the GMP principles and also about the standard operation procedures, the SOPs. We were really curious about it. We did not have any knowledge about it. And then we got a kind of survey from the Suriname Standard Bureau. It was about the certification and accreditation support for public and private organizations in the cocoa and coconut value chain. We filled in all the questions, and we were really happy that we here in March that we were selected for the program. So then we had a very 6 months time. We had a gap analysis here with and we were supported by our technical assistant Robin Sample. We went to a training, and then we start building this quality management system, and now we are in the phase of implementing. Now, actually, we are micro. We have 2 micro processing units for cacao for 15 years. We only have 2 staff members, but we do the primary, the secondary, and the finished products. So even we are micro processing, we have a lot of processing steps, and actually it's also very complex. So the time frame was for us a bit short, but right away we had a lot of improvement because with the training we could do a better procurement because we had procurement problems because we didn't evaluate our suppliers, also especially for bigger investments. I was always telling, oh yeah, I do a lot of troubleshooting, so I learned the difference between corrections and corrective actions. I see that we now have more time because you don't have repeating troubleshooting. And also the communication with our stakeholders or interested parties, especially with the farmers, it's much better. So we are really see the progress during the training already. And actually, when I started the business 15 years ago, I would love to have more knowledge about this. I know the Bureau standard is advertising a lot of times for quality management training, but I never knew it was really speaking to micro processing companies. It was more like if you are a bigger company that you have a quality manager, that the quality manager needs a training, but it was not like for a micro processing company. So and it looked like that you had to go back to school. If you have a business, you don't have time to go back to school. So I never enter these programs from the Standard Bureau. So I will talk with them maybe to make advertisement more appealing to the microprocessing companies. So we know more about customer satisfactions and also how to improve your business. I think I always thought that I was a bad manager, but I didn't know that we just lack the tools, and now we have. So now we are in the next 3 months. Will do our first internal audit. And we are just also comply with GMP, adjust the pavement outside. So I think in 5 months, our target is to be certified. Yeah. Next one. Lesson learned. But at the time we worked with a regional consultant with Rodlin sample, really good. If you work with a regional consultant, then you have just more understanding. You don't have to explain everything. You need just 2 words or 2 figures from a word. You understand immediately the situation. So I prefer to work with consultants from the region. So you get tools you can apply here. The time frame was too short for us because we are working in business. Training was a lot of time, but also to write 15 SOPs, it was a lot. And the next thing is the high calibration cost of instruments. So it's a really different with the first world. They can do the calibration very low cost, or for us it is like very expensive. And you even dare to touch your skill because it costs you $200 if it's broke. So I think we need something in the region that the calibration procedure can be done in national bodies. That you don't have this very difficult to comply with that. So yeah, we knew that here in Suriname the aggregation with our health center, the National Health Bureau, in the project of UNIDO. That could be something where you can think about it to connect more. Oh, it's finished. Yeah, this is my presentation. I hope you can. I was not too quick.
You were fine, Ellen. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sometimes I have these problems with pronunciation, like my name. Oh yeah, I see Priya. Oh yes. I want to thank you all. I know that we have a long relationship with the Bureau of Standards in Suriname, more to write a code of practice for in the field. So I think we can change something. Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you as well. It was really interesting to hear from the perspective of a small business. And as Alan would have said, she always thought certification and standards were things for the larger enterprises. And here she is, a small chocolatier that's doing a lot and on her way to being certified. So thank you for sharing your experiences with us. I'm sure there will be questions in our Q&A section. So our next presenter is Mr. Omar Castillo, who is the Senior Export Business Advisor with Export Belize, a unit of Beltrade, where he provides guidance and technical assistance to companies in southern Belize with a focus on agro-processing, cacao, aquaculture and music industries. With over 15 years of experience in business management and MSME consultancy, he has played a key role in contributing to national economic development by assisting Belizean businesses in expanding into international markets. Today, he will present on trading expectations and reality. So it's good to hear from one of our regional trading organizations to run us through exactly what are we looking at when we start to talk about exporting as MSMEs. Mr. Castillo, the floor is yours. Your audio is not on if you're speaking.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I will start by sending our well wishes and our prayers to our colleagues in Jamaica, given what they are going through at the moment. So I speak on behalf of Beltrade and Belize in lending our support in spirit and just letting you all know that we are with you and we are praying for you. So and my camera seems to not be on. I'm not sure. Let me quickly take a look here. Excuse me, just 1 second.
It's on, but it's not connecting for some reason.
Okay.
Yes, you are
we on?
Yes.
All right, good. All right. So today, as mentioned, I will try to look at the Belize's perspective and Beltrade's perspective as it pertains to trading expectations and realities, and try to speak on behalf of MSMEs in sharing a bit on their perspective as well. So given the time constraints, I will jump straight into it and try to be as brief and concise as possible, hoping that you all may have some questions at the end. So first and foremost, a quick little introduction for you all. What is Beltrade, or who is Beltrade? Beltrade is a Belize Trade and Investment Development Service. We're a statutory body of the government of Belize, and we are one of the main national business support organizations in the country. We have 4 core mandates that are carried out by 4 technical units. The first core mandate is enterprise development. That is carried out by our Small Business Development Center, SBDC Belize. The second core mandate is skills development and industry-based training. So this is carried out by our Belize Training and Employment Center, BTEC, and they provide training in specific industries. Then the third component or mandate of Beltrade is export promotion and development. And this is the unit that I represent. And this unit looks at helping our companies try to enter new international markets. The fourth mandate and the original mandate of Beltrade when it was first established is export promotion and facilitation. So this unit looks at not only promoting Belize as an investment destination, but also facilitating and handholding these investors when they do decide to invest in the country. They also serve as the administrators of the various fiscal incentives that's offered by the government of Belize. So moving on, looking at the topic at hand, why quality matters, and a previous speaker touched on some of these already, but why does quality and standards and certification, why do these matter? Well, one, it unlocks market access. So one of the previous speakers spoke on standards and requirements from two angles. She mentioned that many of them may be mandatory, which is demanded by the governments of these international markets, while some may be voluntary, which are demanded or requested by these international buyers. But by and large, having these in place or complying with these standards, you automatically have access to new markets, whether it be the mandatory, which allows your product to enter a country, or the voluntary, which makes you more attractive to these buyers. It also builds consumer trust. When a consumer or a customer or a buyer sees these logos or these stamps, these seals on your package, whether it be a HACCP seal or an organic seal, your product automatically becomes more trusted, more reliable in their eyes. They start to see your product as being more of a product that they can trust to use, whether it be to consume or to use. There is also the point of enhanced competitiveness, which you can look at it as, by you having these certifications in place or complying with these various standards, you automatically become more competitive you automatically become more competitive in both the domestic and the international markets. There is also the component of sustainability. By complying with these standards and implementing certain systems and what have you, you automatically put your business in a position where you can compete in international markets, and you have now systems in place that allow you to operate more on a long-term basis as such, so there are various reasons why these compliance and quality certifications may be a plus for companies. Now, trading expectations and rules of the game. Let's look at this component now. Just a second. So when looking at these markets, these international markets, these high-value markets such as the US, EU, and CARICOM, they are looking at, or they are focused on assurance rather than just the product. And so this is important for you to keep in mind. In looking at assurance or looking beyond the product, the food, excuse me, just 1 second. So in looking at, one second, my apologies. It's the light. My apologies. An unexpected shift of room had to take place there. So I was saying that these high value markets are looking at more than just the product. They're looking at assurance. And what do we mean by assurance? They are looking beyond the physical product, and they are looking at various components such as, one, food safety. And when it comes to food safety, these buyers are looking at some of these key standards and certifications such as HACCP, ISO 22000, etc. And when it comes to markets like the US, they are also looking at things like FDA compliance and certification, and compliance with the Food Safety Modernization Act. These buyers also look at traceability, so the ability to track the product from farm to fork, or from manufacturing to usage. They also look at ethical and niche components such as organic practices. They look at sustainably sourced raw inputs and social responsibility. So certifications such as organic, fair trade, non-GMO certifications, these become attractive to these buyers. Also, compliance. So not only obtaining and having certifications or saying that you are organic, but also looking at the actual compliance and knowing that you not only have these systems in place, but you are monitoring and ensuring that you keep up with these standards. Now, when it comes to certifications and standards, we can look at it from different angles. There's the food and agriculture aspect, and there's a number of certifications and standards that may be required depending on different markets that you are seeking to penetrate. Looking at the HACCP, the ISO 22000, fair trade, USDA organic. There's also the EU organic, the halal. When it comes to environmental and social responsibility, you're looking at certifications like the B Corp, the Rainforest Alliance. You're looking at the ISO 14001. Then we can look at the general and management systems, where we look at a number of the ISO standards such as the 9001, the 14001, the 45001, and these are just to name a few. So there are a number of standards and certifications out there. As it pertains to Belize and CARICOM, our domestic standards are put in place very much through the guidance of CROSQ. And what this does is this provides a level of harmonization where complying with your domestic standards should ensure, or should make it very much easier that you are complying with the standards of the countries within the region as well, because we are guided by that same body in CROSQ. So looking at the MSME perspective, how Belizean MSMEs have succeeded, and because of time constraints, I will just look at two examples. We can look at probably the most well-known entrepreneur in Belize. This is Miss Marie Sharp, and this is the owner of Marie Sharp Fine Foods Limited in Belize, probably the most well-known exporter in Belize, the exporter of our well-known pepper sauces. And she started off very small. And what was her challenge? She wanted to penetrate new markets, but she had problems accessing and maintaining the presence in some of these stringent markets, up in North America, in Asia, and in the EU. So what did she do? She partnered with entities in Belize, such as the Belize Agricultural Health Authority, the Belize Bureau of Standards, and with Beltrade to put in place systems, or to adapt certain systems within her facility that would allow her to comply with certain standards and good practices, such as the HACCP, the GMPs and what have you. So she started off small. She started to implement certain practices and systems that would align her with these good manufacturing practices and the sanitation standard operating procedures, SSOP, etc. And that put her in a place where she could more easily, or she was in a better position, better prepared to seek these formal certifications like HACCP and what have you, that she ended up obtaining. So she invested a lot of resources, a lot of time into ensuring that she continuously improved her facility and her systems. And the result, global recognition of her brand, trusted for safety and consistency, and now she is exporting in well over 30 countries globally. We can also look at the second example of our cacao growers and processors in Belize. So Belize is a small country, and we wanted to try to tap into global markets, but we had a challenge, or these processors and growers had a challenge. They had a problem with competing against bulk and low price cacao. So there's a lot of huge players in the industry globally that produce huge quantities of cacao. And many times their focus may not be on quality as such, but on quantity. So you are a large chocolate producer on the global market or in an international market, and you want to seek large quantities of affordable cacao. There are huge players on the market as it pertains to this. Now, Belize knew that they could not compete in this aspect. So what they did was the processors and growers focused on trying to obtain certification and ensuring compliance with standards and what have you that made them more attractive internationally. So players like our Maya Mountain Cacao Limited and our Toledo Cacao Growers Association, they started to focus on certification of or obtaining certifications such as organic and fair trade certification and what have you. And the result is that they gained access to premium bean-to-bar chocolate makers in North America, the EU, and even now in Asia, in countries like Taiwan. And what they did by extension, what they were able to achieve by this, and of course, with through partnership and support from our key stakeholders in the national quality infrastructure ecosystem in Belize, is that they were able to achieve a sort of a premium brand for Belize's cacao. So now our producers, our exporters, even our farmers have more of a leeway or more of the ability to demand better prices on the international market. So these are two examples domestically where compliance with standards and obtaining necessary certifications and ensuring consistent compliance panned out positively in the long run for our domestic producers, our MSMEs in the country. Now, it's important to understand, though, that it's a two-way street. And while we want to ensure, or we put national standards in place to ensure that our products that are produced domestically in Belize follow these set standards, these national standards that are guided by CROSQ and created and implemented by the Belize Bureau of Standards. It's not just to guide our domestic products. We also need to remember that these standards also serve as sort of a checklist and a guidance to ensure that products entering our country follow the laid out standard as well. So it serves as sort of a checklist that will guide us to see if a product is fit not only to enter our country, but for consumption or usage as well. So we, as stakeholders within the national quality infrastructure ecosystem, have certain responsibilities. One, protecting consumers. So entities like our Belize Agricultural Health Authority, the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Beltrade, and of course the Belize Bureau of Standards have a responsibility to ensure that these imported products and our domestic products meet national standards. We have a responsibility of enforcement. So whether it be your packaging and labeling standards or the ensuring the standards of building material or ensuring energy efficiency in appliances, we have a role to play in enforcing and ensuring that indeed these products are meeting the standards. And of course, in overall building a quality culture. So in carrying out all these mandates and responsibilities and constant interaction with the public sector, what we will have achieved in the long run is the creation of a culture, not only in our consumers who will demand quality from our products, but also in the producers or the manufacturers who will ensure in the end that their products that they produce meet standards as well. And in creating this sort of a culture, we create better products, and we are better prepared for export, and we have a better position in the international market. So some lessons from the journey, some challenges, and speaking from the Beltrade standpoint and on behalf of the MSMEs, there are some very common challenges that we hear when we speak to our clients, when we visit them at their facilities and what have you. Number one, they all tend to say, you know what, I am familiar with the importance of standards. I know I should meet standards. I know these certifications are attractive, but it is very costly for us. So the obtaining of certification itself, the fees associated with it is costly. One, the investment that you have to put in your facility and your systems may be costly. Two, and the actual monitoring and systems that you put in place afterwards to ensure that you can keep those certificates for the long run come at a cost as well. Another challenge is technical knowledge. Where do I even start? How do I do this? You know, it's often a mystery for our MSMEs. So they tend to be intimidated by this process. So this becomes a challenge for them. Also, sustainability certification isn't a one and done. I mentioned just now, it requires constant maintenance, constant monitoring. It requires systems to be in place, and this takes time and effort and resources as well. Benefits, though, for those who carry out these processes and become compliant with our national standards, with our international standards, obtain certifications, what have you. Number one, immediate credibility. This opens the door. This open doors, that were previously locked, and I mentioned before, having these certifications and standards compliance on the mandatory side for requirements that governments of international or these various countries they demand, your product becomes fit for entry. And on the voluntary side, buyers see you as more attractive, and they are more open to forming business relations with you. Number two, internal efficiency. So by complying with these standards, by default, you are forced to implement systems within your facility, within your business, whether it be in the manufacturing or processing systems, whether it be in your documentation and monitoring systems. You are by default forced to put these systems in place, which makes your business more efficient in the long run. And thirdly, market resilience. So as it pertains to market resilience, certified companies are better prepared for market shocks and new regulations. And also on the competitive side, you are a bit more solidly placed in the international arena once you have these certificates and you can show that you comply with these standards and what have you. And even domestically, you are seen as a more trusted operation by following the set national standards that's put in place by our Bureau of Standards. But it takes an ecosystem, right? And Mr. Lloyd went into detail talking about the national quality infrastructure and the national quality policy and what have you. But the national quality infrastructure is key here. We cannot do this. The Bureau of Standards cannot do it on its own. Beltrade or Baja cannot do it on their own. It takes a collective effort, collaboration, And together as a well-oiled ecosystem, this is where we can see positive outcomes in the end for our MSMEs and for the country itself. Beltrade needs to continue to provide business development advisory services and capacity building trainings and being that link or that middle entity that can provide linkage to finance as well. The Belize Bureau of Standards will continue to develop the necessary standards, offer their services such as calibration, and provide technical training to the private sector and in some cases to the public sector to ensure that we continue to move in the right direction. The Belize Agricultural Health Authority will continue to build capacity of our MSMEs or the private sector, provide technical assistance, and of course monitor to ensure that standards and system compliance are as it should be, and looking at systems such as the GMP and the SSOPs, etc. And of course, CROSQ, which is the regional partner, will continue to harmonize regional standards, build technical capacity, and promote a CARICOM quality culture. So in harmonizing these standards, then we now should have easier access to our neighbors, to our sister countries, and this will not only help to generate more export revenue, but help to boost national economies as a whole. And of course, our development partners, such as our financial institutions, grant donors, and what have you, must continue to provide critical funding for technical assistance and certification costs. So some final recommendations. I will try to be quick. One, we should try to look at group certification, maybe the possibility of group certification where we can pool resources together with other small producers to maybe share the cost of audits and trainings. We can look at the recommendation to start small. You know, it might be intimidating and it might sound like a lot, but start small and start early. So we recommend for you to start from the beginning, start very early, implement certain systems and practices in your business, follow the guidelines of the GMP and the SSOPs, and by taking these small steps later on, when you are in a position where you have the resources to obtain the formal certification, it will be an easier process for you and less investment at that point. As it pertains to the stakeholders in the NQI, one, we should look at the possibility of shared facilities, established, share accredited testing labs. In Belize, one of the constraints is facilities, and we may look at shared processing facilities as well. You can look at harmonizing and harmonize and recognize, continue to harmonize regional standards and push for mutual recognition within the CARICOM region. Of course, also targeted funding. Money is always the issue, and in order to do this, many times it takes a great deal of investment. So we need to develop financial products for specific certification and standards compliance. And with that, I know I went over my 10 minutes. So with that, I will say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your ears. And I look forward to any questions that you may have.
And thank you as well. That was a very, very interesting presentation, and I love the recommendations. There was one phrase at the bottom of one slide that I found particularly interesting, which is when citizens expect quality, our producers are better prepared for exports. That was excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Castillo. We will move quite along because I know some of you have questions and we want to get to your questions. So Dr. Cheryl Anderson is the Managing Director for Quality Systems, Solutions and Initiatives, QSSI Global, based in Jamaica. This is a consultancy organization that offers training, implementation, and audit services in international quality and food safety systems. She has worked with several organizations from the Caribbean region, including Belize, Jamaica, St. Lucia, where she has helped several companies achieve HACCP, ISO 9001, and SQF certification. She's a former head of the National Certification Body of Jamaica, and she is also an ISO 9001 lead auditor and certified trainer for ISO 9001, HACCP, FSSC 22000, ISO 22000, and other quality improvement courses. She has a doctoral degree in quality systems management, a master's in business administration, and a bachelor's of science in chemistry. Cheryl, that's been a mouthful. And she's also joining us from Jamaica. She said last night, Latoya, I don't know, but we'll see, we'll monitor and see what happens. And I am very, very happy that she's actually able to join us today, despite what is happening at home. So Cheryl, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Latoya. I just want to thank you, everyone. Thank you for your well wishes. Thank you for thank you on behalf of all of the persons in Jamaica. Our western side has been, for want of a better word, decimated, and our prayers go out to them. On the eastern side, if it was half as well, on our side was really, really bad, but their side was twice, 3 times as bad. And I'm just thinking that the terror that we felt on this side, I just shudder to imagine what they on the western side felt. So we are trying our best to rebuild. I just want to thank you, everybody, for your prayers. We're going to need it. And your well wishes. We just thank you for thinking about us in this difficult time. And I want to promise you that we're going to rebound. We are resilient as Caribbean people, and we're going to rebound. And it starts with music. And I want to thank Belize for, they did a song for Jamaica, and they know the heart of the people of Jamaica, that it begins with music. So thank you for that music, that reggae music composition that you put out on behalf of the people of Belize. So thank you very much. All right, so I'm just going to jump into the presentation, and we're going to be looking at regional trends and growth of demand for certification. I'm going to try to be short. I know we have 10 minutes, but I just want to give it to you from the consultant's perspective. I want you to understand that, from the SME's point of view, or any business that is going to be implementing any standard, it is a business decision. And based on my experience in over 14 years of being a consultant, and as Latoya said, I had the experience of being the head of the certification body of Jamaica. And this is my experience over that time. The decision is normally either intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated. And when it's intrinsic, the CEO of the company will determine, okay, I have an issue with how we carry out our different processes within the company. And so their motivation is to make sure that there's work standardization through policies and procedures. They may also recognize that they have some efficiency issues. They are suffering from high downtime, high defects, low productivity. And as a result, they use the standard to help them to optimize or systemize. It can be extrinsically motivated, which is, I see this a lot, where it may be something that a customer requires of the business. So they may say, I need I need to have SQF certification before I take your products from you. So there are a lot of the big box companies in the US or Europe that will have that requirement before they take any sort of products from the Caribbean islands. And it also could be a compliance requirement that is imposed on the company. So for instance, the US FDA or Food and Drug Administration, they may say, I need to comply with these requirements before you can actually access my border. So those are the motivations that will cause a business to decide to get certified. And I just want you to remember that certification is really a business decision. We could speak about it from the mountaintop, from Thy Kingdom Come. It is always going to be a business decision when it comes on to the SMEs. And I'm just putting forward some statements verbatim just to validate the point. I work with a client. He said he wants SQF certification. Why? I have to sell my coffee to Kroger's, and this is what they're imposing on us. There's another company who came to us from the Turks and Caicos who said something is just not right within the company. There are just too many issues. There are just too many variations. Thus, this is an intrinsic motivation for getting certification. There's a company in Jamaica that I'm sure most people in the Caribbean, they are familiar with. It is Tortuga Rum Cakes. And they said that we have several factories over the Caribbean. I want to have one factory in Jamaica, but they all have a different way of doing things. And I want to make sure we have consistent quality product. So going for a certification was intrinsically motivated for them. There's another company who said that we'll get more recognition. We are more likely to gain lucrative contracts if we get certification, intrinsically motivated. And then somebody just the other day in February who said, my competitor is certified. And it's not jealousy, it's not bad mind, it is just competition. And they had to go forward to do, they're actually implementing ISO 9001, expecting to be certified by the end of the year. Now, I'm going to put the decision for certification in 3 buckets. And it is the SME will actually make a query. They may do research, or there's some form of action. Now with the SME, and I'm going to tie it into where all of us fall on that totem pole in terms of how we help SMEs to get to certification. For some companies, I can know whether it's just a query. They may say, what is the general price for implementation? Or they may just ask about the certification requirements. So they are not necessarily yet serious. They're just making that general query. Some of these persons, they may do the query, but they may not go for a certification. And that is where the NSBs, that is the national standards bodies, and the certification body comes in, and they will provide that information. Now you have some customers who are potential clients, I should say, who are doing their active research. And this is where the NSBs come in. We as consultants come in, and also the certification body. What they require of us is more detailed pricing. They usually ask about the implementation process, how long it takes, what is involved, and so forth, and what are the certification requirements. You find a little bit more seriousness when you find these companies are doing some sort of active research. And then they have actually made that decision, that means it's action time. They find that they want to understand what the implementation process is, and they seek to get the experience from another company that has implemented before. And they tend to find a more detailed pricing as it relates to certification. So as consultants, we put potential clients into these 3 buckets just to understand the likelihood that these clients will go for a certification. As I said, some people who start at query never end up at the action aspect, but at least they get information, because they may also decide that certification is not good for, it is not the best time for me to do it now, or they may say that certification is not really a priority. So it differs. As I said before, it's a business decision. Now, will the company get certified? And that is a question. And we try not to work with, I shouldn't say try not, we don't work with every single client that may request certification. We assess them based on how serious they are. For instance, if a company includes it in their strategic plan for instance, if they are actively seeking that proposal and asking about some details, and you see a lot of two-way conversation between us and the company, we know how serious the client would get. They tend to get training on the standard from different training providers, could also be the NSBs as well. So we see where they have actually taken some action to get information about the standard. They tend to assign a project manager or a liaison officer to gather that information or designate that person to say that you will be the person who takes on this project and is part of your portfolio. However, this last part, and why I put 3 asterisk, I should put 5. I should have put 10 asterisk. There must be commitment from top management, because the fact is, if we go in and we don't see that the top management is committed, we actually don't work with that client. So the trend is for the companies who are most likely to get certified, they have a strong commitment by top management. And this is one of our prerequisites when we are taking on a client, because we don't want our percentage, we don't want our performance percentage to go down, right? We want to make sure that we're always having successful companies acquiring certification. And that is one of the reasons why this is a strong prerequisite for us as a consultancy agent. Some of the trends that I've noticed working with companies over the region, I've looked at, well, assess some of the countries and what are the triggers that would prompt companies to get to go for a certification. Sometimes there's a policy shift. I can tell you in Jamaica, we have a lot of our agencies that are certified to ISO 9001 because it's a policy decision. The government is thinking about transformation. So they focus a lot on standards and they focus a lot on customer service. And you have to recognize that you're not doing well and come to a point and look at yourself in the mirror and say, we need to do better. And that is why that policy shift from the governmental level actually triggers or pushes SMEs or even government organizations to implement. And I can only imagine, for instance, in Guyana, especially for the oil and gas sector, where they will be having it as a compliance requirement to, once you're supplying to the oil and gas sector, they may have that as a requirement. So I expect that in Guyana, there will be a boom or an explosion where that will trigger SMEs to implement the different standards. There are compliance requirements also. We have a lot of exporters in Jamaica who export to the US and Canada, and they require certifications in SQF, FSSC 22000, etc. So it is it's almost, you would say, mandatory for them to put it in place. It's a no-brainer for the companies to get to certification. The good thing about the different governments across the region is that these things begin at the governmental level, where they get companies aware of the requirements for certification in order to help them to move forward where that is concerned. There are market trends, a lot of competition. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on, where, you know, because I want to have that edge, I can tell you from our perspective as QSSI Global, we said that we are going to get ISO 9001 certified. Reason being, we want to be more recognized than the other consultants in the region, number one. And number two, we wanted to identify with the companies who are implementing, so we can say, yeah, I'm helping you to implement. We have the experience implementing ISO 9001, so we are the best partners for you. So we use that as a business decision, actually, and more from a competitive point of view, to become one of the most sought after consultants in Jamaica, if I do say so myself. I just have to, yeah. And there's also increased awareness of the benefits And this is where the intrinsic motivation is coming from, where people start to become aware of what they don't have, or some of the issues that are happening within their organization, and how it will help them. And that is one of the reasons why we have to help we have to make sure that we continue as NSBs to always spread the word about certification. Based on my perspective, we have worked with different companies within the region. We have a lot of queries and proposals from the OECS, Barbados, and Grenada. So it is at that stage. But there are other consultants that are available or around in the region who may have bigger take-ups from the different countries. But I notice more companies from Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. I find that Belize is doing well, and also Guyana, and I expect that trend to continue. And what I find, for instance, in the OECS, I know that there are a lot of funding support to get companies to actually implement standards in their organizations. I can say though, in terms of the allocation for how I work mainly with food safety and quality, I find a lot more persons have come to us for ISO 9001 so far, but because we have a lot of food processing establishment, they may require either SQF or HACCP or FSSC 22000. So we do have a lot of SQF clients. SQF is Safe Quality Foods, and it's mainly accepted by the US. So there was an explosion of requests in SQF. We were the only consultants who actually offered SQF at that time. So you found a lot of consultants learning about SQF. So you have more that are out there. And we had gotten certified more than 80% of the clients in Jamaica. But the good thing is you have more consultants actually providing that. So if you're exporting to the US, for instance, they prefer that standard. You may have FSSC 22000, which is really more global, and then you have the BRC for Europe. But since we have a lot more persons in Jamaica exporting to the US, they tend to request SQF. Yeah, what we found, or what we are finding, is that not a lot of companies are requesting HACCP. HACCP is a base requirement or a base part of SQF or FSSC 22000. So the trend is more along the FSSC 22000 and the SQF. And just in case persons online, they don't know, HACCP really, they don't tend to have HACCP certification. HACCP is a guideline. So it's more of going for a certification for a standard like SQF or FSSC 22000. So HACCP is just a base, it's a guideline to the more recognized standard, which is more the GFSI standard. So I would recommend strongly that if you want market access in some of these overseas territories, that you go more for SQF, FSSC 22000. If it is to Europe, you go for BRC. Now, and this is what I'm looking at from our perspective, our company. We have certified we have gotten to certification over 40 companies and growing. We have another 10 working with, and most of our certifications happened between 2016 and 2020, and it was really going well until COVID. But I must say, since then, we found a lot more companies coming on during the 2020-25 period. For now into the future, because of the amount of queries that we are getting, I can say categorically, we won't be able to handle the amount of requests. That is why we are taking on even more subcontractors with our company to actually handle the amount of requests that we are having for implementation. And we have been finding that a lot of government organizations are requesting it. And not just that, the government is trying to fund or provide partial funding for SMEs to get to certification, and a lot of them have signed on. So it's just like it's like second nature now within Jamaica. I must say that you know, I was listening to Brianna from Guyana, and you know, and other countries like Lloyd. I just want to let you, I don't know if you have experienced what is called a tipping point as yet, but Jamaica has reached this tipping point where it's almost natural for you to go for a certification. But you will never get to the tipping point unless you're just continually doing what you're doing, making people aware. There's Beltrade who just come on, Mr. Omar, who just come and say, okay, we do this, we do that. You have to continue doing that because that is your role in the quality infrastructure. So you will be at a point where there's this tipping point and you're just going to say, how am I going to handle all of these queries and all of this business? And it is just going to be this explosion to the point where we have some more consultants and we still can't manage the demand in Jamaica. How long does it take to implement? I just want to wrap up because I know Latoya said I must say 10 minutes, but I get excited about this. Category 5 excitement, actually. So how long does it take? Usually 6 to 12 months. We have some companies who have gone between 12 and 18 months. Sometimes their infrastructure works and so forth. There's one client that had taken 6 months, which is a Kroger's situation where he had to get into Kroger's in 6 months, and he did it. He was a fabulous client, and there was top management commitment. And I can say for that company, because it is not how it is going, what we did then, but how it is going, they actually cannot manage the demand that to the point where they had to put in a second shift. So that company is going so well just because of certification. So their return on investment, I can say, is multiplied by 20. Journey to excellence. I say I'm going to wrap up like 10 minutes ago, but journey to excellence, I want us to understand, especially if you're implementing ISO 9001, that there's something called definition where you define your system first and foremost. So you define the system through policies and procedures. Then you go into repeatability, which is the practice, just making sure that you're doing the same thing the same way consistently until you get to systemization. That is something that you have your monitoring, you're implementing, your people are being trained. That is systemization is what ISO 9001 offers. Okay. However, that is where ISO 9001 stops. So you have to use ISO 9001, I shouldn't say have to, you use ISO 9001 to get to optimization, but you cannot get to optimization before you go through systemization. So I just want you to use ISO 9001 as a platform to get to optimization, where are now becoming more efficient and effective. What I recommend as it relates to SMEs, especially if there are any technical people on the call, that I want to communicate the integration of the standard within the business processes. And it is not a separate thing that you're implementing, but it's integrating the standard to help you. I want to connect certification to profit and productivity. Implementing a standard, focusing on how you reduce your downtime of your machine, for instance, how you reduce idle time, how can I reduce my changeover process to make me more productivity, how do I train people to ensure consistency. So if it is not into a relatable business language, for instance, if the process is not connecting to service delivery, if we're not speaking, if we're not translating the technical language into the business language, SMEs will never understand. So we have to make sure that we live our role in certification. From the from the consultant point of view, what we try to do is be transparent about the process, and we try to give a fair pricing. Not try, we fairly price our services, and we give value for money. And we try, because we understand that that companies see this as an expensive process, so we don't go out there and we try to price gorge, if that is a relevant term, just to make sure that the pricing is as fair as possible. So we will continue to help to build SMEs, because that is our role, that is our mission as consultants. And you can call us anytime. Thank you very much, Latoya.
And thank you very much as well, Dr. Anderson. It's been a pleasure having you be a part of our session today. Our final speaker, and I know we're coming down to the wire, it's been a very engaging and very interesting day of presentation so far, as we examine how we're supporting MSMEs through standards and certification. Our final speaker is Dr. Sheremy Smith Walker, who is the new Chief Executive Officer of the CROSQ Secretariat. She's also the former CEO of the Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation, JANAC, and holds extensive experience in environmental management, accreditation, and quality assurance. She has served on so many international boards, including the Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation, IAAC. She's also co-chaired with ILAC, IAF Joint Development Support Committee. She's also served as an adjunct senior lecturer in occupational and environmental safety and health with the University of the West Indies, Mona. She is an accomplished executive with over 25 years experience in environmental management, accreditation, conformity assessment, food safety, training, and management systems. And she has diverse experience working with public and private sector clients, as well as multilateral organizations. Today, Dr. Walker will present on regional efforts in standards and certification to support industry.
Thank you so much, Latoya. And I thank our stakeholders who remain online, almost 80 of you still. And I am not going to be long, because much of what I would have said has been said. So I am going to just wrap up the conversation. And I want to thank Cheryl as well for her presentation. Yes, Cheryl, you sound like a definite category 5 amount of energy. Yes. So it's my privilege to speak with you. And for those persons who joined after I gave the official welcome, thank you for joining. It's my privilege to speak with you today about this very critical topic that is central to our region's economic growth and transformation: the role of standards and certification in supporting Caribbean industry. And CROSQ, as many of you are aware, and Brianna did a good job of summing up what CROSQ does with respect to standardization, and Lloyd did a good job of speaking about quality infrastructure. So I don't have much to speak, but just to remind you that CROSQ is an intergovernmental organization that facilitates the development of regional standards, the metrology, accreditation, and conformity assessment systems that support the regional quality infrastructure key to the sustainable production and trade of goods and services in the CARICOM single market and the economy, the CSME. CROSQ creates the environment for businesses in the CARICOM member states, all 15 member states, to improve their trade competitiveness through a harmonized regional quality infrastructure. We have been talking, and I was so heartened listening to those from the MSME sector who have shared their experiences. Across CARICOM, we know that our MSMEs are the backbone of our countries. MSMEs, the data shows, comprise approximately 80% of registered businesses in our 15 member states and account for 70% of employment. And so, for that reason, if for no other, we must take care of our MSME sector. We have heard from Ellen that many MSMEs face barriers when trying to access both regional and international markets. And she has shared some of the challenges they've had with respect to access to quality infrastructure services such as conformity assessment services, calibration, etc. We understand these issues, and for this reason, the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality has been resolute in trying to provide the services that will enable our MSME sector to grow, to strive, and to do well. We understand that one of the most critical barriers is the lack of certification and compliance with international standards. We've heard from Dr. Anderson in her assessment with respect to our clients. You either want it intrinsically or you're forced to do it because of some extrinsic factor. We want to get to the state where the culture in the Caribbean, right across all 15 member states, is such that we intrinsically demand quality, best practices for ourselves, and we want to do it for our constituents, for those we serve, for our customers. In today's fast-paced and competitive global economy, and we are challenged on many fronts. We are small, right? We don't have the economies of scale. We are limited with the resources that we have technical resource as well as equipment and resource. We are limited by logistical challenges, but we have something that many other countries don't have. We have the resilient spirit of Caribbean people. We saw Cheryl demonstrate that this morning, coming right after Category 5 hurricane to present, and she did such an amazing job. We understand that conformity assessment systems that are based on accreditation, as Lloyd mentioned, are essential for the growth of trade, not just regionally, because we have to ensure that we assure trust regionally as well as for international stakeholders. Quality, safety, performance, standards provide that common language. Without standardization, we will do things any old way, in ad hoc fashion, and we will do things in such a way that doesn't align with any best practice. We may think it is our best practice, but that's not sufficient for our neighbors. So we must harmonize our standards, and for this reason, CROSQ was developed in 2002. We are here to harmonize regional standards so that what we want for ourselves in our individual member states, we are doing the same for our brothers and sisters in the other 15 member states or the other 14 member states. Certification, on the other hand, is the proof, the assurance that we give to the customers and the businesses, and the assurance given to the regulatory community and to our business partners that the product and service meets recognized benchmarks. So we accredit certification bodies, but the certification of our businesses is synonymous to the accreditation that is provided to the conformity assessment bodies that do the checks and balances. For industries across the Caribbean, this is critical. Many MSMEs are looking to expand beyond their local market, and I was so pleased to hear that we have an MSME in Belize that literally blew the competition out and is now present in 30 different markets. Congratulations. These are the kinds of case studies that we need to celebrate across the region, so others will see that it is good for your bottom line to become certified. It's good for your bottom line to invest in using accredited conformity assessment systems. So for many years, I worked in the private sector, and I worked with a number of private sector clients. And I'm always heartened when I see them step back and look, Cheryl, and say, oh my goodness, why didn't I do this before? And so we want to get that wow moment from all of our stakeholders. CROSQ's role is strategic. We have been instrumental in building the regional quality infrastructure that supports our industries in meeting these international standards. And we do this through the regional quality infrastructure. We do this through supporting our member states in building out and developing their national quality infrastructure. Global acceptance is based on compliance with regulations, mandatory, and conformance with standards. Many of us are familiar with the technical barriers to trade agreement and the sanitary and phytosanitary agreements that are established by the World Trade Organization. We hear the words, but sometimes we don't spend the time to understand what they mean and how these agreements impact our business. And for sure, they impact your business, whether you're a micro, medium, or you're large-scale manufacturers. We have seen in the data from the WTO that the specific trade concerns, these are the trade concerns raised by countries right across the world, that 30% of them relate to standards, and the other 70% relate to conformity assessment. Do you see how crucial standards and conformity assessment is to the growth of your business? You have to understand standards because they're the criteria that says how you operate. Omar, I agree, standards are the passport, but I'll take it a little further, as Lloyd says, accreditation that provides the trust is the visa. So you can have the passport, but you need the visa to enter the markets. And this is why we are here. This is why we have been supporting our MSMEs. We have been involved in regional efforts that support not just the conformity assessment bodies, not just the national standards bodies, but we have supported businesses. Through the 11th EDF, CROSQ helped establish reference labs, strengthen national standards bodies, and we did this right across CARICOM and CARIFORUM. We supported conformity assessment bodies to become accredited. We supported the accreditation body to get recognized, and we supported several businesses. We are continuing to do that. We're doing that through initiatives such as the UNIDO ACP project. We're doing that through the CDB Quality Infrastructure Strengthening in Haiti project. We're doing that through the TBT Phase 3 project that follows on from the 11th EDF project. CROSQ is helping businesses, and we're doing it in a real way. We are providing support to approximately 11 SMEs in the region, and we have done many, many more in the past, and we continue to do this, and we continue to advocate for our MSME sector by seeking to get support for our sector in getting certified. So if you didn't catch the boat this time, don't think it's past. We are continuing to seek sponsorship to assist you in getting your businesses certified. But I also want to support what I heard Omar said. He said that there are ways to do this and we have to collaborate. And I was excited when I heard him talk about shared certification services where, yes, you're competitors. You may be competitors in different areas, but you can come together, share the consultancy support. You can come together, share the support that you give to your conformity assessment body, because many conformity assessment bodies in the region do not build out certain services because they don't have the uptake. So you may be doing this in Belize. You have other companies in other member states that need the support. Here is where we have to support each other, because you might not have sufficient customers in Belize, But when you pool all of the region together, you will have sufficient customers to make sure that your business is viable. And it is for this reason why we lack some of the calibration support that we need for our MSME sectors, because we just don't have the economies of scale. But if we pool together, we will be able to do this. CROSQ is providing certification readiness support to many MSMEs, and I know my time is done, so I'm going to wrap this up. We are providing support directly and indirectly through access to quality infrastructure services. So when we provide support to our laboratories or inspection bodies so that they can become accredited, this is now supporting you, the businesses, because you need these service sector for your overarching goals in achieving certification. We are also doing this through capacity building, through training, and importantly, this webinar is one of the means that we're doing in sensitizing our public. And I'm very happy that we are not only focused on one sector. We're focused on food, we're focused on energy, we're focused on tourism, general manufacturing. CROSQ provides standards that support the entire plethora of businesses in the CARICOM region. So I want to thank you for listening and for being here. We do have some challenges in harmonizing. We do have some challenges in getting the required funding and the resources that we need. But we know that if we work together to strengthen regional cooperation, to strengthen stakeholder engagement, to strengthen partnerships, we can build that culture of quality and continuous improvement. So together, let us continue to invest in quality. That's what I've heard right across the presentation today. Let's collaborate across borders. And importantly, let's ensure that every MSME in our region has the tools to thrive. Let's support their businesses when we see their products in the marketplace, in our domestic markets. Let's not just wait for them to do well outside of the region, but let's support them right here with our dollars. Thank you so much. Latoya, I know you have a big job to try to do Q&A now, but we will see what can happen. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you as well, Dr. Walker. We do have 2 questions that came in during the course, and I will just pose 2 of those first. If you in the audience still have questions, please drop them in the chat or raise your hand so we'll come to you quickly. We'll try to wrap up in another 10 minutes. I'm not sure if this question should go to Dr. Anderson or Dr. Walker, but the first question was, how can a manufacturing company get to become GMP or ISO 9001 certified in Grenada? I'm not sure which one of you want to take that one. Cheryl?
That's an easy one.
Okay.
I heard Cheryl share all our extensive qualifications, and I'm not saying that we are not promoting all consultants in the region. We are balanced, but certainly you can reach out to Cheryl. She's online, and you can reach out to CROSQ. We have other consultants in our repertoire, so you can, if you wanted to pick, choose, and refuse, reach out to us, and we can share them as well.
You wanted to add Cheryl, or that's good?
Yes, you can reach out to us, and even if you don't use us as your consultant, we will give you the information that you need. I put my number in the chat, and I'm open to responding to any question by WhatsApp as well. I'll give you as much information. So it is not a requirement for you to use me. I just want to give you the information. So whenever you're sourcing any sort of help, at least you have accurate information as to how to start.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Walker, this one is definitely for you. I want to find out more about sponsorship options for SMEs. Who can I contact on the CROSQ team for more information?
Yes, so you can reach out to Mr. Stephen Farquharson. Stephen Farquharson is the Technical Officer for Accreditation and Conformity Assessment. He's the best one for you to reach out to, give him the need that you have expressed. And you can always reach out to me. I'll have somebody put my email address in the chat, and I'll also ask that Stephen's email address be shared in the chat for anyone who is interested in reaching out to us for such support.
Thank you so much for that. I am not seeing any additional questions. We do have comments in relation to a very informative and a wonderful session today. Thank you all for staying with us. We went a little over time, but I think you can acknowledge that the contributions were worth your extra 15 minutes. I'd like to say thank you to all of our speakers. It has been a very engaging and very, very enlightening session today. But I am not the vote of thanks speaker. I will now invite Rhonda Tillett, who is our vice chair of the MIC committee, to bring remarks, closing remarks on behalf of all of us. Oh, is there? I'm
Latoya,
sorry.
there is one
question?
more question from Devendra Singh asking, how does a medical laboratory benefit from this certification, or it's mostly for sales?
Okay. Dr. Walker?
Yes, I'll just do that quickly. So the medical laboratory would be best suited to be accredited to the ISO 15189 standard. That would certainly open up several doors for you if you are providing services to visitors to your country, and if you wanted to have other for medical tourism, and in addition to providing expert and excellent services to your stakeholders in your member state. So I would suggest, rather than go to an ISO 9000, because the ISO 15189 standard does have a component which is for the quality management system that is pretty similar to the requirements of the 9001. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you so much for that. I'm hoping that it helped. Aisha, are there any other questions before we close? Oh, there is one that just came in. I would like to know, is there any standard from the CROSQ to address services provided rather than goods produced?
Well, we in general, the standards would support both services and goods. There are specific standards that are geared towards certification of products, but the standards in general would also have an element that support the production of the quality management systems for services. So ISO 9001 does cover both services and products. And we in terms of a regional standard that is similar to the ISO 9001, we would not have one regional standard in that, but we do have good GMPs, that's products. But the 9001 standard is a good standard which we have adopted in the region.
Okay. I think that is our last question. If you'd still have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We will try, when we are sharing online this full presentation, we will try to also address your questions there. I'm hoping that we can upload today's presentation, given that all of this was excellent from each of our speakers. We're hoping to upload to our YouTube so that you can go back there, you can review, and you can get some more information there. So if you still have questions, please drop them in the chat. We will not ignore them. We will address them going forward. But at this time, I would like us to close, and I will ask Rhonda Tillett, who is our vice chair for the MIC committee, to close for us. Rhonda?
Thank you, Latoya. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And let me start off with brief apology. I just switched computers, so I don't have a camera to turn on. Hoping my voice is sufficient. And I would like to start off by echoing the sentiments that have been echoed throughout our webinar today, to our colleagues in Jamaica who have been directly impacted by Melissa, and to those who are in her path, our hearts and prayers remain with you as you navigate the difficulties of recovering from this
Take
storm's
1
impact.
hour. You done the 2 hours, but it's very good.
Yes, Miss Faye, we're almost done. On behalf of the CEO of CROSQ, Dr. Smith Walker, and the CROSQ Council members, the chair and members of the MIC committee, we extend our heartfelt thanks to all of our presenters, and allow me to take away nuggets with you. Miss Brianna from the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, thank you for delivering an insightful presentation on the role of standards and certification, the role that they play in the development of MSMEs. My nugget from her presentation is an alignment with standards, so that certification becomes a natural next step. Start with one. From Mr. Lloyd Oriano of the Belize Bureau of Standards, who educated us on the national quality infrastructure and how it supports MSME development. The NQI is a network working together towards the development of MSMEs, allows for the development of a strong culture for quality. Miss Ellen, I apologize for not knowing how to pronounce your last name. I was practicing from the beginning of this presentation. I apologize. Of Tan Bon Scratty from Suriname. Thank you so much for sharing your lessons that you learned as a small business, and I was amazed when I saw that your staff complement is 2. My nugget from that presentation is you are never too small to start. And if you start from the beginning and incorporate that into your procedures, starting from the beginning, you have a hand up in your processes going forward. Mr. Omar Castillo from the Belize Trade and Investment Development Services, who shared perspectives from MSMEs on the trading expectations and their realities, standards and certification lends to compliance. It also helps with attractiveness of buyers to buyers, and it provides an ability to remain competitive long term. Dr. Cheryl Anderson from QSSI Global. Hi, nice to see you. Um, thank you for your insights, and thank you for being here despite the challenges. Thank you for your insight on the regional trends in growth and development for certification. Certification is a business decision. Dr. Sharon May Smith Walker, the CEO of CROSQ, thank you so much for sharing with us the regional efforts in standards and certification to support industry. MSMEs are the backbone of our economy. We want to get to a state where our culture across the region intrinsically wants or demands quality through regional harmonization. Standards is the passport. I think we need to trademark this. Standards is the passport and certification is the visa. We thank, we want to thank you, our stakeholders, all of you, for sticking around, for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. We really appreciate you being here. This shows your genuine interest in learning more about how these standards, how these partnerships for quality can help to strengthen MSMEs across the region through standards and certification. And finally, to all our colleagues across the MIC committee who made quick work in organizing and executing this event, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for helping this be something that we executed. And as we continue to strengthen MSMEs across the region through partnerships in quality, CROSQ, through the MIC Committee, bids you a happy World Standards Month. Next month is World Quality Month, if my memory serves me right? Okay, good. And and I wish you a wonderful remainder of the week. And thank you guys for attending the webinar today.
And thank you, Rhonda, for those thanks.
Yes.
Okay, everyone. We will try to
Latoya,
yes, sure.
before you go, you probably want to share with your constituents that we're having World Quality Week and perhaps one or two of the activities. Thanks.
Yeah, during the week of the 9th of November, we will be having Quality Week. We will be celebrating Quality Week at the CROSQ Secretariat. So you can stay tuned to our social media. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, aka X. So you can stay tuned to those channels for our next webinar, which should focus on some of our professionals in the QA space. We will also, during that week, on the Sunday, we will be having a church service, and coming on to the end of the week, we'll be showing some appreciation to our staff and colleagues. So stay tuned to our social media for that. We will be uploading this video to YouTube, probably with a little edit here and there. But you'll have the nuggets from today to take you through and to review as you please. So again, thank you everyone, and please have a wonderful remainder of your day. Bye.
Thank you to Latoya. Good job.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. It was excellent.